call this Washington County Board of Education meeting to order. After a moment of silence, we're going to ask our student board member to lead us in the pledge. How's that? Do you know it?
I think so.
Okay.
I'll start you off. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get too far in, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and tell them what you got going on? I heard some bragging about you.
My name is Clayton Morehouse. I'm a senior at Daniel Boone High School, and the news that he's talking about is last week I accepted an appointment to West Point, the military factory.
He doesn't get under pressure. He's not going to say that.
Congratulations.
That's very good.
With point.
Awesome. Okay, we need consideration of the meeting agenda. We need to move item 6J to discussion. Someone.
I'll make that motion. We move 6J to discussion.
Second.
Okay. No comment. We need to vote. We need to vote that, don't we? Jennifer? I just don't know if mom's in the right place.
Sitting here forever now. 5:30 just jumped on us, didn't it?
I don't like talking about myself.
Where's mine? There it is. There we go. Okay. All right.
Mr. Hammond?
Get a motion to that, right?
I was just circling. Yours coming up, Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Nancy's not either.
No, mine's just circling.
Have to do this.
I show her vote. How do you vote, Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
All approved.
Okay, we need approval of the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Wait on Jeff.
Okay, sorry.
Way to be alert.
Missed that. I'm sorry.
If we didn't need you, you'll use there for us, so that's what matters. Family. You know?
Thank you. It's open.
I thought he was.
I made a motion, Chad.
All right.
Okay, I didn't hear you.
We're ready for you.
All agreed.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just some announcements, just for awareness. It's in our approved school calendar, but February 14th is in our calendar as a no student day for teacher in service. The 21st is a holiday, President's Day, so all schools and offices are closed. And February 22nd is the board scheduled workshop. The 24th is a different, I just noted this for the county commission meeting, it falls on a different day this month. Just want for your awareness. And then in April 7th, we have a planned reception for all of the teachers that have attained tenure this year at 4:30.
What's the date of that?
April 7th,
Where's it at, Jerry?
downstairs. And just moving into superintendent's report, and I'll gladly hand it over to Clayton and let him share some of his insight.
All right, so for the month of January, it seems like we haven't been in school a whole lot. It seems like January kind of flew by, but we still found a way to get stuff done. The hosted chapters at both schools tested in the regional leadership conference back in December, and we got the results back. 16 members from Boone and 3 members from Crockett are eligible to compete at the state level in March, which is a huge deal. Also, the CMA industry certification test at Boone took place back in January, I think. It may have been December, but they got their results back and we had a 100% passing rate from them, which is also a huge deal. The CNA certification exam is in April. For athletics, the boys varsity basketball team's currently 4-7, girls are 5-3. Crockett is 7-6, and the girls are 19-5. In their most recent matchup, both Boone teams, both boys and girls teams for Boone beat Crockett in 2 buzzer beater shots, which was a huge deal. Girls game finished at 39-7, and the boys finished at 40-37 in overtime, in 1 overtime. We have another game coming up this Friday, and I expect Boone to win.
I'm telling you, buddy.
I'm right there with you. Come on.
Finally, we've got spring sports are starting up for this year. The track and field team at Boone competed in the Knoxville Youth Athletics Indoor Track Meet the 14th and 15th of January. The slide up here is wrong. We now have 19 athletes that are going to the state meet this weekend at ETSU. We also, as usual, all spring sports have begun their preseason work to get a jump on the upcoming 2022 season. If I'm not mistaken, I think the TSSAA is opening the seasons up February 14th for official practices. Like I said, it feels like we haven't been in January too long, but we had a good month and we're looking forward to a great spring. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And the beauty, when our high schools play, we always know that Washington County will win. So-
Right, good.
I forbid the superintendent man.
Switzerland.
Just want to see good competition. Just the next items are just for board awareness and public record in the minutes. Maintenance report, the financials that have been prepared by Mr. Hill, just all the processes and expenditures and payables that have occurred over the last month, from December. Personnel report, just an update on the activity from the last personnel report submitted at the last board meeting. And at this time, no grant report was available. There should be one available in March, and there are no other items to provide the board at this time.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I really like for us to go over our finances in our workshop. So I think that needs to be, whatever.
Well, we have been, we just didn't last time.
Well, we didn't last time, and I feel like we need to go over it. That's what the workshop's for, so I'd like to see that made back on the agenda for the workshops.
You mean the detail, or just
Yeah, details,
go over
what
the
we-
reports before we
you
go
know,
to
like-
the meeting and ask any
Like
questions?
like we've been doing, if we have any questions, we can ask during the workshop instead of not going over it.
Well, let's just talk about it in the workshop then. We can see what everybody wants to do.
Most certainly, Mr. Hill will be prepared,
That's-
as he is and will, and always has been.
I just feel like we've always done it and we need to keep doing it.
Okay, consideration of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Meeting's open.
I'll agree.
Okay. Mr. Boyd?
You're at discussions and presentations, and your first item for discussion is the sale of the old Boones Creek Middle School property.
Okay, how do we want to open that up, Mr. Jerry? You want him present? How we gonna work that?
Well, I mean, however you would like, I'm sure Mr. Petzold's prepared to at least give a broad overview, and we have Mr. Bennett here if there are any questions about that board members might have in council of
Jerry,
decisions.
you wanna, since you're the agent, you wanna give them a overrun?
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Give you a quick update of our parking activities. We launched the marketing at the end of December. We received our first offer on the property the first week of January. We all received the second week of January, and the third the third week of January. So we have 3 modified offers. Before the offers, we had 12 inquiries by phone, different interests from mini storages to apartments to a church and single family. None of those, there was no offers from any of those. We had 26 leads from our online marketing efforts, and 2 of the 26 are now offers. So we've been, I guess we're in our 6th week. And tonight I brought the facts of each offer that I would like to go over with you, each one by one, and then recap it, a comparison of one over the other, so you're fully informed of all the details that each of the participants have offered. All of them are qualified, all of them are experienced, and I think you'll see they're all very close in what they've offered. So the first purchaser is Marathon Realtor Corporation. They're out of Abingdon. Marathon is a wholly owned subsidiary of KVAT Foods, which owns Food City. They made their offer in January the 5th. Their purchase price funds, they will escrow it upon zoning approval, so the funds will be there. Deposit is refundable, 180 days into the inspection period, during that whole period of time, in case their due diligence doesn't check out or they don't get the zoning or whatever. They have a $10,000 on deposit with Rick Beeson, attorney in Johnson City. Their inspection period, which we also call due diligence period, which is a period of time that they do all their testing and core drillings and samplings and environmentals and all that sort of stuff to figure out if the site in fact will work for them. It's very common, it's typical. That inspection period ends August the 2nd. Looks like I got a misspelled word right there. For 180 days, 6 months. Contract termination options. They can cancel it if they don't have the rezoning by the end of the 180 days, or they can waive that and go ahead and keep moving forward. Closing date would be 15 days after the end of the inspection period, not the rezoning period. So the latest date would be August 17th. Their proposed use is retail use of related amenities. Be more specific as to what that is. If you can move the screen up, please. Annexation contingency, wasn't stated if they would or would not. It's just another process that they would have to go through in addition to the rezoning. That process takes about 90 to 120 days. I talked to the Johnson City planners today, and they confirmed that. Because the property is in the county, but Johnson City has the jurisdictions in their district. So it has to go through Johnson City first to the Planning Commission before it goes to the County Planning Commission. So it's kind of a double approval process. It takes a little bit longer. Closing costs is customary. The buyer pays the buyer, seller pays the sellers. They would have a phase 1 environmental inspection done, which is basically checking the public records and making sure there's nothing that's been filed against the property in regard to some kind of contamination of doubt. Contract expiration date, in other words, you have as long as you want to make a decision. There's no deadline that you have to make a decision by. And of course, I'm representing the BOE. I'm your agent. You are who I look after. They do not have a broker representing So, any questions about Marathon Realty?
Will they close sooner if they get rezoning done, do you think?
Pardon?
Will they close it earlier if their rezoning is?
They have all said they will close. They all have said they will close as early as they can. So always a lot of moving parts.
Another escrow money goes hard at any time, correct? Until
Pardon?
after, Your escrow don't go hard until,
The end of the 180 days.
that's what I thought. Okay.
So there's one line in there that says can terminate contract at any time for any reason or no reason.
Right.
That's a little troubling,
It's very common.
is it?
Yeah. You buy a piece of property like that, you don't know what you're getting into. And I put it on my contracts, and you just don't know. And things change, economics can change, anything can happen. These are big deals.
The rezoning shouldn't be a problem there though, shouldn't it? Or should it be because of everything around it? It's already zoned?
Depends what they're asking. And I did have David Crockett, the HOA president from the patio home development that is to the back of the property. He called me up, wanted to know if I knew what was going to happen with the property. I said, well, it's for sale, but there's no plans that I know of that's been shared with me. And if it goes to rezoning, there's public hearings, so you'll have your chance to listen and speak. And so, that's always a concern about the neighborhood. And planners are really concerned about adjoining neighborhoods. So if you want to put an industrial building in there, they may not like that too much. So it all depends what is going to be done with the property. And they have to go through that process. Anything else? Go to the next one, please. This is a company called Reno Investments. It's a Tennessee corporation. I don't know who the principals are. I called up the broker, Stan Evans, and asked him, and it was confidential, which I respect. The representative is Stan Evans, real estate broker with Evans Real Estate. The offer was submitted January 25th. Actually, the first offer was $1,650,000. But we got multiple offers. It was our duty to inform all of the buyers that there were multiple offers on the table, give everyone the opportunity to change their contract, change their terms, change their price, whatever they wanted to do. And some of them did. Some of them did multiple times, as late as yesterday. And as late as a while ago, I got an email confirming that proceeds had been deposited in one account to cover the purchase price on one of the buyers, which I'll share. So they've all been working diligently and hard to fine-tune their deal that fits them. So it'll be your decision which, if any, that you decide that you want to go with. Right now, he's at $1,700,000. The purchase price has been covered by bank letter provided by the Mountain Commerce Bank. So there's no financing in any of these. These are all cash deals, all three of them. So, but the money is there for the investors. There's no appraisal contingency or financing contingency. They got $25,000 escrow. Evans & Evans is holding the escrow deposit. Deposit is refundable for the first 90 days through the inspection period. So at the end of the inspection period, it's no longer refundable. So after the closing date is 30 days after the end of the inspection period. So that date will be about June the 16th. We started today.
So the other one was 180 days and this one is 90 days.
That's correct. The other one is going for rezoning and annexation. This one is not. There's no rezoning or annexation. What triggers the closing date is the satisfactory due diligence. They go through the 90 days, they're happy with it, we go to close.
Jerry, your annexation contingency on here says no, and on there it says yes. Is that a misprint on there?
That's a misprint on that. I didn't catch it. I changed it on the sheet before I got, thanks for catching that.
Appreciate it.
It also, I changed that and I changed that. That's a no and this is no. Whoops.
We got it.
Move the screen up, please. They have signed the offer, the valid offer. Each pays its own closing costs. They indicated they would do a phase 1 and phase 2. That's their option. I wouldn't see a need for a phase 2 if the phase 1 comes back. So, you know, to be extra sure, apparently they want to do that.
Can you explain to everyone what phase 2 is?
A phase 2 is when you go out and you start core drilling the ground, and then you take that to laboratories and they test the soil and the water content for contamination. And they do that at different areas on the site. You get a good profile. It's quite expensive, actually. That's a phase 2. Again, I'm your broker. As a broker representing the buyer, stand evidence to evidence.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for him?
Go to the next one, please.
Contract expiration date, February 15th.
They wrote in the contract that if you didn't make a decision on their deal by February the 15th, their offer expired. Pretty standard. The other two left it open.
Scroll up.
But you do have a contract, or you do have a written offer to purchase from the
Yeah,
other.
all three of them. It's a regular purchase and sale agreement. Both Scott and myself have reviewed them. They're signed. They're all three valid offers.
We've had some back and forth with both. There were some terms. So it's, each one has been vetted and so that I'm comfortable if the board chooses to approve any of these or to counter on any of these.
Okay, Cashier Investors. North Carolina Corporation, they're from Asheville. A broker in Asheville. John Speck, he's representing the investors. I don't know him. John deals with them. They made the last change yesterday. And their offer price, their initial offer was $1,435,000. They raised it to $1,650,000. I just received from Chicago Title confirmation that they have deposited the full purchase, in excess of the full purchase price, into a separate account to fund this purchase should they end up with a contract. Non-refundable deadline is March 21st, the 45-day due diligence period, March 21st. Inspection period, 45 days, same date. Inspection period ends March 21st. After that, the deposit's non-refundable. The proposed use, they don't know yet, it's commercial use. The prior contract, there's not been a determination how the land was going to be used either. So this offer and the previous offer, there's no immediate planned use of the property, nor is there any rezoning or annexation applied. That's allowed them to shorten their time period.
Inspection period, let's see that. I was ready to study that one. So inspection period.
What's their due diligence is 45 days, Jerry?
45
15
days.
days after closing.
Yeah, basically, closing is basically 60 days from contracting. 45 days due diligence, 15 days to close. What triggers the closing date? Their approval of the due diligence or the inspection results. Closing costs are same as the others. The buyer and the seller pay their own. Environmental inspection, it's a purchaser expense. Survey, purchaser expense. I'm the broker for BOE, and John Spake is the broker for the buyer. I will be sharing my compensation with those brokers. That's how it works. Go to any questions on this? go to the summary sheet, please. This is kind of a side-by-side comparison. It might make it easier to understand. Line number 4 is the purchase price. The difference is Marathon is $1,650,000, Red Oak is $1,700,000, and Cashier is $1,650,000. Most commercial deals are made in the terms, not necessarily the price. And, you see the prices are very comparable, but the terms are all a little bit different. So,
Here you got a question.
Yeah.
No, I'll get just a question for Scott. Say a motion's made to accept one offer, go into contract negotiations at a higher price. Would the board have to, if we were to meet next week, okay, they countered, would you still have to go to the 5-day, have to post the meeting for 5 days, or would that be considered an emergency?
It's kind of an emergency.
So you
It would
wait
not
5
be-
days?
Right, under your board rules, you have 5 days.
Okay.
Do we need to do that?
I'm just asking.
I think, we've just been presented this, I don't know.
Well, the contract's made, it's just up to us if we want to accept it or
Right.
reject it or
Counter.
counter.
Okay.
That's our 3 decisions.
Accept, reject, or counter.
He had no idea what Red Oak Investments wants to do with the property.
Please?
With Red Oak Investments, you have no idea what they want to do with the property?
No, hasn't been determined.
Or Cashiers, for that matter. right?
Okay.
Mr. Carver?
Well, I'm in favor of making a motion that we accept the 1.7 million and see where it goes.
I think I'd like to let Mr. Pitzel talk about this a little more and then maybe give us his opinion. He does it all day, every day, and he's been in the field for a long time.
Would it be out of school for this board to go back to Marathon with a counter of 1.7?
It's an option.
I
You
got
can
a
do whatever you
question.
want.
Is John Spake, is he Ingles realtor?
Pardon me?
The last guy, is he a realtor for Ingles?
I think he does business with them.
Yeah.
That's the shortest period as far as being.
How do you feel about, we talked about this in confidentiality of several weeks ago.
All right.
I personally feel a little obligated in a sense, but at the same time, I also feel like they could have made an offer right off the bat and they didn't. How do you feel about that? In other words, we kind of, we said that we would bring this to this board tonight and call, but at the same time, you see what I'm saying? I don't want to be unethical, or out of line. We got to do what's best for the community and the taxpayers and all. I get that. I'm just saying. Do you feel obligated to them in any way?
No.
Okay.
It's all about facts. In this case, you can make a decision based on how you feel, how you see the numbers flow, how you weigh the risk. That's all up to you. I can't help you with that. All I can do is present the facts for y'all to figure out what's important to you in making your decision on accepting one or the other, rejecting one or the other or all, or make a counter on one or the other. That's your decision.
Yes, Mr. Hammond.
No disrespect, I'm not worried about $50,000. I'm worried about what could go in there, what type of business, because we do have neighborhoods to think about. We've got a church across the street, we've got condominiums across the street. So I want to make sure we're taking care of that community too. I'm not worried about $50,000.
Well, I think either the first or third is going to probably be the grocery store.
And I think they can live with that.
I don't know no idea who Red Oak is, what they do or nothing.
So you're telling us you don't have a preference? You're just presenting the facts?
I shouldn't have no preference.
You shouldn't, okay, I'm
I have to
sorry.
be unbiased.
I like the
Okay, I
last one.
appreciate
If I have a preference, I won't tell
I
you.
go with the last one, it's the shortest.
We'll be honest about that.
How quick you want your money.
If it's single family, you don't know what's going to go in there, then there's going to be another grocery store.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
made a motion.
okay, so you made that a formal motion.
I'll make
Repeat your
that
motion.
formal motion. I
Repeat
make
your
a
formal
formal
motion.
motion that we take Red Oak Investments for
Aye.
1.7 million.
Do we have a second?
I'm gonna second it so we can discuss it.
Okay, let's discuss it.
So it says rezoning contingency and annexation contingency. Would that not hinder closing?
Yes. Because they're gonna rezone and have annexation, it may take them 3 or 4 or 5 months to do that. That's why, yeah, it won't close until they have that in hand. Now, you can counter offer on not only the price, but you can counter offer on the terms.
So
Now, you can remove anything that you want from any of the contracts.
even though the last one is supposed to be shorter, because it may have to rezone, it could go longer than the 1.7, the Red Oak.
Oh, yeah. Basically, the cashier and Red Oak are paying cash, no zoning, and closes soon as their due diligence period is up. Again, you have that option to negotiate on the length of the due diligence period. You can count on any term or anything in any of the contracts.
Has anybody got
It's
anything?
not,
Sorry.
it's not just one thing. That's up to you. You'll have that option.
What if we went with Mr. Irvin's proposing and shorten the terms down? Counter offer and shorten the terms down?
Everybody agrees you can do that.
They're at 90 days, the other one's at 45, and the other one's at 180, so.
But they don't have the contingency for rezoning and annexing on that,
That's-
on this
That's
one.
why they're at 90 days or
That's the reason
45
why they're
days.
shorter.
Mr. Flanger.
I like the way the third, I know all that's negotiable, but the third one, I just feel like we know more about it than we do with the first one and the third one. And it's $50,000, and I wouldn't care to put them 1.7, go back with them and ask them about that. But at the same time, we do get to close quicker on the third one than we do the other two. So, I mean, the other two are August, one's almost September, the other one's towards July, which we can change those negotiation periods around, but.
All right, let's vote on our motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could comment. So, Mr. Riddle raised a question about the inspection period. If you wanted to amend the motion and say, move to amend his motion to reduce it to whatever figure you think is appropriate, if that's passed by the board, then effectively that becomes a counteroffer.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's the will of Mr. Riddle, and I certainly don't know if that's the will of the majority of the board, but if you wanted to address that and get the higher price, but also maybe a somewhat shorter due diligence period, that's the way to do it.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to amend to a 45-day inspection period and then 15 days to close after inspection period on offer number 2.
Need a second.
15 days?
It would be 15 days, so it's
Same as
60
third
days
one.
total.
Same as the third one there.
I'll second that.
All right,
Are you good with that?
I'm unbiased. I just present the facts in all respect.
all right, so we're voting on the amended motion. Huh?
You're voting on the motion to amend the main motion.
Yes.
So we're voting on the amendment.
Yes.
And I apologize, I didn't record the second.
I did.
Okay.
You ready, Mr. Day?
Yes, ma'am.
Open it.
This is on the amendment. Is this to accept, or this is just to amend the original?
Change the terms.
Okay, because it says move to accept 1.7.
That's how it's written in here, but
We're going to vote again, right?
yes,
Okay.
this is just for the amendment.
And then we're voting on the
And the
amended
amendment
motion.
carries.
So now we're voting on the amended motion.
And it's open. And it carries
Okay,
as amended.
as amended. So you'll bring that back amended? You'll send,
You will have to amend it, and then I take it to the purchaser.
right, you'll do it.
And then they have the right to accept, reject, or counter that.
Yes, sir.
Should we set a meeting date then, somewhere in the next,
I guess we'll have to wait, well, how
5
long
or
it'll take
10.
him to get it.
well, I mean, the clock's ticking and we don't normally meet, and you've got to do this 5-day,
Then it closes February
Well,
15th.
and you can always cancel a meeting, so.
When he does that, he'll put a time frame on it.
Is our workshop the 15th,
No, that's when we're down
22nd.
south.
22nd? That's a little too far.
Can I,
Are we able to do that another way if they don't have to have a full meeting?
No, the board has to. And I'll say, I've been communicating with these folks. They understand that this can only be done in a public meeting. And so if your next work session is the 15th, then I can,
22nd.
22nd.
That's a little
22nd.
far.
then I can communicate to them that that's the next time that the board will be meeting to take action. The question is whether the board wants to wait or whether you'd rather
It's
strike
just
another
going
time.
to prolong the purchase.
Another 20-some days.
Right.
I think we prefer to do a call meeting to address it.
Yeah, we're in Nashville 14, 15.
Can we do it that Friday?
Let's do it next Thursday, the
Do it
10th.
as soon as you can.
Next Thursday, the 10th. How about that?
So my
Jerry, can you get
recommend,
the, can you redo the contract by then? I'm sure you can.
Put
can't
the
you?
date in your calendar that you want an answer. So if
Okay.
they don't provide an answer by that
It's-
date, it's null and void.
Right.
And we start over.
By the 10th?
so
We make
I
that
would
motion.
suggest that maybe someone make a motion that you revise your counter to make it,
Specific date.
make it good through noon on whatever day you're gonna have your meeting. And that, the way they get back to Mr. Petzl by that.
Well, yeah, because if they decline it, we don't need to meet.
There you go.
Well,
Yeah.
we need to accept another one.
Well, we got two others out
We got
there.
2 others.
Yeah, could we, if that's
Well, those
declined,
offers expire, don't they, when we don't
Nope,
accept
just
it?
not.
middle one.
That's
Just
the one we
this
one.
didn't have an expiration.
You're responding before the 15th.
now, let me ask this
You want to
question.
talk, what about Chad? He had his hand up for a while.
I wasn't waving at witness, I appreciate Mr. Riddle waving, but can we, I might like to make a motion that we meet the next Thursday at 4:30 to review the offer and make also the
12 noon.
the expiration date for our counter at 12 noon that day for next Thursday. Is that okay?
So you're making a counter, and you're setting a date to do that counter. You're not doing that tonight.
We're doing it tonight. They got to let us know by the next Thursday
Okay.
at lunch.
The counter expires Thursday at noon.
Yes, sir.
And we're meeting at 4:30 that day.
Yes, sir. Or that's the motion.
4:30.
4:30?
4:30.
Wait, that.
Is it,
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm with you. Good.
second?
Let me,
Jerry wants 6.
Hold on a second.
just a thought. I want you to be fully aware of all your options. This is a rare situation where you have 3 highly competing offers at one time. You have the option to consider a backup offer, so that when you make this counter offer to the first party, if they don't accept it, then they're kind of boxed in, and your backup offer could go into effect. It gets a little complicated, but that's, because you have multiple offers on the table, you could do that.
Well, that's what I was asking, or what I wanted to ask is, can another one of these companies offer more money?
Not unless you ask them by a counter offer.
Sounds like they done that.
Well, I mean, you know, they,
He said up until an hour ago.
We gave them that option. We didn't tell them what they should offer.
okay.
You can tell them what they should offer by making a counter offer with the number. That's how it works.
Which we are making a counter offer with the dates
In the terms.
and the terms.
Right, but you're not making a counter offer on the number as I understand.
Yeah.
You can raise or lower that number, however you want to do it.
Well, I don't think we can raise it because we had it priced at this price and they've offered more than what we're asking for it. So how can, you know, we can't,
We've got 3 people that are interested in it, that's why.
well, I mean, you know.
You're the one that said it's worth $2 million.
Well, all right, put it up right to me, that'd be fine,
We should have listened to you, shouldn't we?
You know, you should have.
I'm gonna listen on these buses. I mean, so, okay. Do we want to, so what I hear you asking us is, do we want to make a motion to accept one of these as a backup offer? Now, I would say if somebody wants to make that motion, they go ahead and add all that other language in it when they make the motion instead of 2 or 3
Do we do
minutes.
that now or do we wait till the 10th or whenever our call meeting
Well, good
is?
thing about it, the other two, there's no time frame on expiration, so we don't have to be in no hurry on it.
Now, they could withdraw it.
Yeah,
obviously.
they could withdraw.
But I think that'd be just complicated, Jason. I'm not sure.
I'm not-
I'm not sure that 9 of us could work through some kind of complexity like that, so.
I just think we need to send it off.
Let's see what happens. Let's send it out.
If they don't accept our counter, then we can move on the other two.
That-
I'm sure
that
one
same
of the
day.
two will be interested.
Or we can
Or you
take a
think-
chance on accept theirs.
Let's see what Scott has to say.
So it seems to me that what the board has done basically is you tried to get the terms of the cashier offer to match the numbers of the Red Oak offer, right? That's essentially what you've done. And it took 3 motions to get there, but you did it. So maybe a backup offer would be, in the event that Red Oak does not meet your counter, maybe your backup is you ask the cashier to come up to the 1.7. Because you've already got the time frame that you want there.
And in terms, they got better terms.
I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
I like
Already have a motion and a second on the floor.
You need to make that amendment.
Oh, wait a minute.
You got a motion, you reread, you got something on the table right now.
Yeah, there is already your motion.
And that was-
So we wouldn't even come back and discuss that?
Yeah, that's right.
Wednesday?
I'm sorry, Chad's motion is on the table. I apologize.
Yeah,
First and
But
second.
you could build that into your
You can withdraw
motion.
your motion.
or you can withdraw your motion and we can start over.
Do that.
No, you need,
You have to have his.
Yeah,
What
we
we
clean
need
it up.
to do is we need to take that and build that into what Chad's done. And
unless I wasn't taking very good notes, Chad's motion is the one that has the expiration date in the meeting and it hasn't been voted on yet.
That's
So
right.
I think because there's a motion and a second, and because that's what the board wants, you want an expiration date, you need to vote on this.
Okay, that matters. And then come back with
And then you
another
can do-
motion if it's not.
Then you can do the back.
This makes them make a decision by next
Yes,
Thursday.
yes.
So let's go ahead with this one.
Let's vote, Jennifer.
It's open. All approved.
Let's get them all 3 in the room and all.
Piece of property next door.
I do.
You do?
I do. I'm all for
Can I be a ring man? I've always wanted to do that.
For free, I'm good that day. We can charge us.
So, Mr. Chair, motion approved, you want to?
Yes, sir. Now, we wanna, Mr. Riddle's got something for
I'd
us.
like to make a motion, sir.
Oh, nice.
No. I'd like to make a motion that we take a backup secondary offer from cashier investors and that we counter offer at 1.7 million
I second.
And all other terms should stay the same.
Second it.
Call for the question. Would also, do I need to amend? Sorry.
No, I was just.
Okay. Would also like to add to my motion that that be on, I guess, the 9th. Is that right? Or we need to wait?
The motion, the approved motion was the 10th by noon, with a call meeting scheduled for 10th at 4:30.
That's what your motion
That's my
says.
motion, yes.
Yeah.
On the 10th by noon
Okay.
to get their answer.
All right, Mary Beth seconded it. And we're ready to vote.
Did I need the date on there or no?
Yes.
Yes?
10th at noon.
Okay.
Okay, it's open. And I'll approve.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Clear,
Thank
clear.
you.
There's mine. All right, moving on. Right, purchase soundboards for Lamar.
So your next item is the bids for the purchase of soundboards. The questions were, the difference in thickness of the boards from the office supply versus the Mullins bid. The amounts, as you see, are there's a small difference, about $600 difference. We did reach out. There was a question about Tennessee Office Supply and installation. They use a contractor. We got references from other school systems that had items like this installed in their schools, and the references were very positive about timeliness of quality of work of the installation, and then after the installation, basically the product doing what it was intended to do.
Yes, sir, Mr. Fleener.
I'd like to make a motion. We agree with the Mullins Group at $26,750. The soundboards.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All right, let's vote.
That was Mullins.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the thinner ones, right?
2x4s.
I'm going to abstain from all that because I do business with them.
It's open.
So I assume I just click abstain. So,
Yes.
yeah.
I also do business with them, so I'll abstain as well.
It's approved. Motion carries.
I should ask this before we voted, but where's the money coming from?
Maintenance.
It'll come from our maintenance on that.
I thought that's what you
Okay,
said.
okay.
It was in BOE Connect.
Does that need to be a part of the motion?
No,
For
sir.
clarification.
Just be aware that in a future budget amendment, I'll adjust the lines since you've already approved the purchase. So you'll see the detail of that when we do the next budget amendment for anything that you all approve tonight.
All right, Mr. Boyd,
Yes, sir.
moving on.
Yes, sir. Next item is 7C, purchase of 7 school buses funded through the county capital education funds or education capital funds. Bids have been provided. The recommendation is to go with the Bluebird.
Mr. Fleener,
I'd like to make a motion that we enter into agreement for the Bluebird buses at the amount of $780,997.
Second.
Mr. Irvin.
I'd like to amend his motion and purchase 3 diesels instead of all propanes.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it to discuss.
Okay, any discussion?
We don't have any bids for diesels is the only kicker. I don't know how.
My only thought is, if we're gonna buy 7, we got grants for 5, is that right? Propane?
Yes, we do have grants. There is a time limit. The recommendation for Bluebirds was their availability is much quicker, and then also our experience with the Bluebirds is much more positive.
All right. Anybody else?
So we've got 7 Bluebirds, right?
Well, we just vote,
Right.
yeah.
And, but only 5 are grant eligible.
Right, because of the criteria of the grant, we have 5 that meet the criteria to dispose and then are eligible for replacement, and the grant monies be associated with that.
I thought.
Why don't we
buy
just do the,
5.
why don't we just do the 5 and then
Propane.
worry about the other 2, and come back with the 10 for diesel or something later on, if that's what.
That was kind of my thought when I said it.
Or not, even.
Yes, Mr. Howard.
Wouldn't you have to rebid it out then, because we may be getting some type of discount with the 7?
Well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe. Do you know, Jared?
I know we're getting $15,000 for each diesel bus we destroy, so that's $75,000 right there. We've been in contact with the sales rep from Bluebird, and they're going to cover the difference between getting a 100-gallon tank instead of a 69-gallon tank, so that's close to another $20,000 that Bluebird's offering up. That's a better sized gas tank for us.
The question would be, is the unit cost for each bus, would it change if the board approved only the purchase of 5 buses through Central States, those Bluebird buses?
I don't think that the per bus would change, no.
Mr. Buchanan.
How many diesel buses will we have left in our fleet?
It's 11 plus 7 is 18, 60 plus?
16?
60.
60, okay.
And just for, again, full disclosure, talking with Central States, they do Bluebirds, but they sell Bluebird diesel as well. He informed me that they're anticipating by 2025, they will no longer sell diesel school buses.
Let me throw something on you real quick, if you know this. So, and I guess we'd just say last year. When's the last year we have to determine replacing the buses, or within the last year? Like, is that 10 years from now, or we keep them 15 years with possible additional 2? So when's the last year we bought new diesel buses, I guess is my question.
3 years ago, 2 years ago, this is year 3.
Yeah. So we still got 10 plus years. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, the motion was
We have
amended.
Amended to buy 4 and 3.
All right, Mr. Fleener, you got something?
Just a question. If I wanted to amend just to buy the 5 buses at 557, 855,
Yeah.
I'd like to make that amendment. Or
Well, you want to withdraw yours? And
Well, I was gonna say we'll buy 5 propanes since we're getting the discount, and buy 2 diesels.
you ain't got to bid on diesels because you
Okay.
can't buy that at
You
all.
can only buy 5.
I'd say we just
I don't
withdraw.
like when we make so many amendments.
We need to do at least
We need to
5
talk
since you
before
got it
we
now.
do it.
I think you need to amend your motion, and I'll
Alright.
withdraw my second, let Chad do the amendment. I'll just buy 5 propane is all right now.
But I thought we had to buy 7 buses. We have 7 buses that's fixing to come off the road.
We need a replacement cycle is to purchase 7 buses.
So we need to buy the 2 diesels. I'll amend my motion to say 7 propanes, since we're getting the discount, or I mean the 5 propanes and 2 diesels.
Point of order though, you cannot say you're gonna buy 2 diesel buses because they cost over $10,000
We don't have.
and there's no
But
bid.
they
have to
told
bid
them,
it.
they told us the price
We're getting out.
at the workshop.
Hold on.
We did pull that from a contract from which we can purchase.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
Jared, when do we have to buy buses again after this year?
We buy buses every school year.
So we could buy diesels next year and just go ahead and get these 7 that we've already bid on. We got 5.
Plenty of
With the
years
grant.
left.
if you're asking me my opinion of Mr. Hammond, what I assess that,
Both.
yes, and again, I feel compelled to remind the board, Mr. Roberts, your transportation supervisor, your lead mechanic, does not want to buy diesel buses. Does not want to. Doesn't want them in the fleet. He wants propane buses. They like the propane buses. They are more cost effective for the school system. And I can't help but argue that point, not an argument that matters, but we're being told by the bus manufacturers they're not going to make diesel buses in the future. Which means when they stop making them, the replacement parts will be harder to get, and we'll have more and more trouble getting the things that we need to keep those buses on the road.
All right, let's repeat the motions and vote.
The amendment
Please.
is now 5 propane and 2 diesels.
No, it never did pass or second, so.
That can't pass.
Well, you got a second.
Yeah,
It ain't
so
when
you
you
had
got
not
a-
voted on that motion and with the second.
I'll withdraw that motion, if you'll withdraw your second.
I'll withdraw my second.
All right, now where we at?
On Keith's amendment.
The original motion by Mr. Irvin.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, the original motion's to buy all 7 propane. He amended it.
Okay, well, his amendment, then I'm
So we
sorry.
had 3 on the
Yeah,
table.
we had
That's
an
right.
amendment.
His amendment was 4
All right.
propane and 3 diesels.
Now, let me ask one question. Is that even possible if we wanted to before we vote on something that we can't vote on anyway?
What-
Legally.
yeah, It is possible.
Okay.
We have access to a contract
Okay. I want to
to
make sure.
purchase diesel buses.
Okay, all right, let's,
I'd like to change mine to 5 and 2, just because we got the grant. 5 propane, 2 diesels.
well, who has the amended motion on your original motion?
I second it, but I withdraw my
Now,
second.
everything's withdrawn, we're on his motion, I believe he can amend his own motion.
Okay. Amended,
I'll amend it to take 5 and 2.
do we
5
have,
propane and 2 diesels.
do we have a
Yeah.
second on that?
I second it.
All right, let's vote.
So my question is are we committing to buy diesels if we pass this motion?
Yeah, we're committed to my too.
Well, I don't know, Jerry second.
Well, I mean, you all approved the purchase, but addressing us to buy 2
2
diesels.
diesels, okay, so
Can I
we will,
ask a
if we pass this,
question?
we will buy 2 diesels, even though we haven't bid them and accepted bids and
Can
all that
I
kind
ask
of
a
stuff.
question?
Of course you
Of
can.
Mr. Irvin, why are you adamant about the diesels? I'm just curious.
Well, how many propane cars do you see out on the road? How many propane pickups do you see out on the road? I cannot believe that they're gonna take diesel off the road, okay? I just can't see it. When I purchased a truck, Mike purchased a truck to pull his camper, he's not buying a propane truck, he's buying a diesel truck to pull his camper with. So, you know, that's my whole thing. If I'm gonna send the kids down the road
I know you're gonna
to get to a ball game in Knoxville or whatever, I hope I'm gonna send them in a diesel truck or
Have we
diesel.
had any problems with
Yeah.
propane?
We're having problems.
Mr. Roberts, you mind me putting you on the spot? Have we had any problems with propane?
The Bluebird, we haven't had any problems. The internationals, we're having a few problems with them.
Okay, so that's a propane, the
Yes, ma'am. That's
international.
why
We
I
have
was
that.
recommending Bluebird.
I
Okay.
got a question. Have we had any problems with diesels?
Yes, we have a lot of problems. Not the engines itself, it's the emissions.
Okay.
They're very complex, high maintenance, and very expensive.
So we have problems about anything about it. Yes, Ms. Glenn.
I've got a point of order, I think, that we can't say we're gonna buy 2 diesel buses when, or nothing on our minutes, or nothing on our agenda has a price one of anything. So how can you say we're gonna buy 2 diesel buses when they could cost $111,000 like these propane, or $222,000, and we just made it a commitment to buy 2 things that we don't have an idea what but it's not in the
We can
minutes.
bring it back to you with the prices based on the cooperative purchasing contract that we have access to, board would approve that amount. Tonight, because we have the bids for the propane buses, we could proceed with that, but because we have not officially, received approval on the prices of the diesel buses, we can access that, but we have to bring it back to you, so we can then proceed to buy the diesel buses through the contract, or we can go through the bid process, but we do have access to purchase diesel buses through an already established cooperative purchasing.
Which wouldn't require any action by this board.
Still, anything over $10,000
Would require action.
You could authorize us not to exceed on the diesel buses, but,
As a matter of law, they could also authorize you just to purchase it pursuant to a contract.
yes, sir.
I mean, so I hear what you're saying, but under 492203, this board is the purchasing authority for the school system. You could authorize them to go to appropriate from a contract that's already existing. So you can do it.
I mean, I'm gonna say, we were talking about 50,000 on the contract to buy land, but now we're buying two buses and we don't even know what cost.
That's a different question.
They're very comparable to the propane.
I think if we could ever vote, it'll take care of itself. We're confident it will. I feel like it will.
You still have to bid the buses out there, those two, so.
Not if this motion fails, we're gonna go back to 7 and we're gonna vote again and we're gonna prove them, we're gonna move on.
Well, but Jake.
If it happens that way, I'm just saying.
But just what I just heard is that if we pass this motion, we are buying 2 diesel buses. This board won't have any further action to not
That's
buy
what
2
you
diesel
correct,
buses.
yes.
Well, just based on the motion we have right now, which is to buy 2 diesel buses.
Right.
Okay.
And with an available contract, or go through the bidding process, that would have to come back to you, but do an available contract. You can authorize the executive committee, which is the chair and the director, in your own policy as a purchasing agent, you can authorize us to proceed based on the direction of the board.
Mr. Roberts, so we heard from Dr. Adams, they are going to make parts for the diesels obsolete in 2025, is that the understanding?
I can't compliment on that, but they are getting harder to get now. We're actually making some parts out now.
What's the longest standing propane bus you've had in the fleet? What's the longest term we've had some of those?
It's going on 2 years, year and a half.
Are those first ones we got
That's
Bluebirds? And in your experience, those are better?
Yeah,
better
they haven't
effective
given any
buses.
problems. And I actually talked to the supervisor in Clarksville. He has 78 Bluebird propanes. He started getting them in 2013. He's had 0 problems. Said he hadn't had one in the garage yet.
All right, what
He's got
about,
some with 90,000 miles.
anybody? You got a question?
No, I call for the
Oh, you
question.
call, okay, let's vote.
So
I'm
this is
sorry,
all
I'm a little
amended.
confused. What
This-
is the,
this
this
is-
is 5 and 2.
It's on
Okay,
your
I'm sorry.
screen, Ms. Dillinger.
This is an amendment, and then we'll have a motion to vote, right?
Yes.
I know
The
I'm
original
gonna
was,
fail. Well, it's all right. I'm gonna keep bringing it up, so
We
you can follow
appreciate you
it up.
wasting our time. We
That's
really
all right.
do.
Your time ain't no more important than my time, Jason.
Says who?
Says me.
Oh.
Your opinion and my opinion.
amendment fails.
Okay,
Back
let's-
to the original, which is, does everyone understand?
No.
How did that amendment fail? I mean, what was it? I didn't see the,
Mine ain't been pulling up.
I didn't see
I
that.
didn't see it either.
It didn't
No,
come
you didn't.
Is it showing on your screen?
Mine
Did you?
ain't popping up.
Dirty iron?
I hope you publish that, ma'am.
Did it show up?
Now, 'cause I'm in the.
Did you not read it, Mary Beth?
Motion.
Well, it had 2 and 7, and it had 7, so.
Dirty iron.
Dirty hair, she likes dirty hair.
You want to talk about those?
Right now, 'cause I'm in that.
Can you just read the vote on it? I think that's all. Keep-
I think we haven't taken it forward.
It won't let me pull it up right now because we're in an action.
Can we go ahead and vote?
Hey, I appreciate you, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
Well, I don't
Just
think,
because I was
how should we if we don't know?
confused.
We'll come back to that,
It's
let's come back to that in a minute.
It's in the middle, so she can't pull it back up.
I know, but how do you vote on the next one if you don't?
It failed.
It's open.
The
Yeah,
amendment-
This
the
is
amendment
the
failed.
original motion.
This is the original motion.
Oh, it
purchase
failed,
seven.
okay,
If you're
okay.
ready.
This is the original motion to purchase 7 conventional school buses funded through
Bluebird.
Bluebird.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
It's open.
Somebody's diesel bus.
I don't know what it sounds like, my mom's car.
Somebody is parked on the back road. Hey, there's one in the building.
It's parked on the back row.
No, I'm not on Jack Road. I've lost my screen.
How do you vote?
I vote no.
Bluebird. It's a Bluebird.
Yes, and we have
Motion
the
carried.
full screen.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Would you scroll up so we saw the amended vote? I guess scroll down. Yeah.
Scroll down?
Yeah,
There you go.
There's the votes. on the term.
Well, you and Mary Beth stuck together.
Whitney, thank you, Whitney. You know?
Whitney, go with you too. Okay.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
That's your yes.
On the list, we got 7D.
Yes, sir.
My diesel's next. No.
Yeah, 7D, let me go to the original item. Or 60, yeah, it's 7D now, but it was originally,
5D.
thank you.
We've moved 5D to 7D.
I'm getting there. Sure it's 5D?
Yeah. Leads 5, ain't it?
I thought it was
6J.
6J.
6J, where the heck did it come from?
I don't know.
That's supposed to be up here.
Oh, it don't cost nothing.
Yeah.
You get paid for it.
Okay, did you already move it?
No, it's still at 60 days. Sorry.
Okay, yes, okay, I just want to make sure. The original item was moved for discussion, approval to name the existing Jonesboro Middle School Gymnasium, the Terry L. Crow Gymnasium, and carry that into the new Jonesboro Elementary School.
And I'd like to make that motion.
And I'll second. That was quick.
Good job, girls. Oh, do we need any discussion?
Why would we move it to discussion?
So we can
His
discuss
family's
it.
here.
Mr. Crow's family's here, Mr. McKee's here. You know, through your process, through your policy, a group can recommend within a school, a room, a location in the school to carry a name. And, you know, that has been brought to the board. And the family was here, and instead of just going through the consent agenda item, you know, just so the board had the opportunity to vote directly with the family here, and thank you for being here.
I'd like
Thank you.
to say, I had the privilege to be coached by Coach Crow. I had him as a teacher. Fantastic man. Wonderful leader of men, good with young ladies, of all the kids. He's very good later on with his staff. This is well-deserved.
He was such a good mentor to me as a first-year teacher. He was my best buddy. Our classes were the best together if we went anywhere. So I have fond memories of Mr. Crow, even when my dad and him were friends and we would go over to their house. I just have a lot of fond memories of him.
All right. So we need to vote on that one.
I would also like to see, I guess we'll do some sort of ceremony with that, I imagine. Dedication ceremony of some sort.
Certainly, and I'll ask, I guess, directly as he's looking at me, you know, Mr. McKee will coordinate that with the family, and then all the extended family, all his friends and his colleagues, and certainly a lot of people in the community that he impacted, so that we make sure that the ceremony it's publicized, and we have everyone have the opportunity to attend.
Thank you all for being here.
His legacy will live on for a long time. That's great.
Exciting.
I didn't know him, but my wife had him and she loved him, so, for what it's worth. She always talked about how kind of man he was. All right, we good?
For voting.
I done voted.
Okay.
I done voted.
I got to have help. I'm still voting on the buses.
I don't think we got that kind of help, Keith.
How do you vote, Mr. Irvin?
I vote yes, but I've still got,
Well, that already showed up.
Did you hit follow?
We're
I
past
put
that.
his vote in for him. All approved.
All right.
She added your yes vote. Frank's gonna have a hard time going behind.
Okay, last but not the very least. You come on up here.
It's not Jared. Last time I was here, I think it was Jared.
WCEA, Ms. France.
It's been here, I miss
Now
the
it's
kids.
Hensley now.
I apologize.
Congratulations.
It has been such a long time. Mr. Meredith, I didn't know.
Oh, you thought somebody else was gonna be in there?
And I heard about how old the grandchildren were and, it's been a long time. Good evening. And I know that School Board Appreciation Week is officially over. It was last week. But the gratitude is still there. Thank you for your service to the community and specifically to the kids. It's a big job, and I have no idea what it's like, other than, I hear from public too, a little bit. But it is a big job, and we appreciate it. I think back to Sam Humphreys, who was the director of schools, or the superintendent, when I was at David Crockett High School. And I remember all the, the different ones, and look at the plaques, and anyhow, it's teamwork and willingness to put the kids first for the future of our community. From some of you who went to Crockett, went to Boone, and even before there were those high schools. Thank you for being part of the local stakeholders when you met with the legislators, because that's in session, and you put schools' needs, kids, in the forefront of their heads when they go down there. And we're fortunate that the people that you talk to are public education, because that's not true with all of them. We are fortunate about that. It's a vital priority, and you showed that with your attendance and with your discussions at that meeting. Teamwork with all students as the priority is exactly what it takes to provide an education during this time. We see it every day in all of our schools. We see it with teachers who are stepping out of their many roles already and substituting during their planning or giving up their lunch, the helping hand. Instructional assistants who are becoming substitutes all of a sudden. Administrators who are becoming teachers and substitutes, and data clerks who are calling from home hours and still not finding subs. Lots of and cafeteria workers, nurses doing COVID testing now, and it takes teamwork. Bus drivers doing extra runs. It seems like there's maybe at least once a day that we get a notice that bus so-and-so is not running today. All those kids have to call home. It's just the world we live in now. And it takes teamwork to make our dream work. As Washington County Education Association representative, I'd like to say thank you to all of you, or we would like to say thank you to all of you. And to all of those stakeholders, all of those professionals out there in our schools who are making our dream work. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next Thursday, 4:30. Call me to discuss. Is that all we need, Jennifer?
Yes, and I'll have your travel ready.
Okay.
Do we need to, your email that you sent us about the toss and the full awareness of the district, do we need to call Rebecca and?
That was in the House Education Instruction Committee yesterday. It did not get out of committee, so at this point in time, unless it comes back through another way, it is no longer viable during this session.
All right.
Mr. Hannon, do you know anything about meeting?
I talked to Rusty's assistant today, and she always tries to line us up with the other two, but it's different since we're meeting in, the afternoon and then the morning session. They have a lot of committee meetings on Tuesday, so it was so much better when they did it before, just as a breakfast on Tuesday, then you could break off and.
So we're not
catch
actually
them.
going over to the
Typically, according to Tammy, they don't, it's more of a legal learning now, and you call your legislators, but Rusty said he's still willing to meet with us. And his secretary's the one that's always tried to get the meeting up together with the other two legislators.
Thank you.
So are we going over to his office, or is he coming over to the motel?
His secretary's gonna let us know, we'll go to his office.
Okay.
All right.
If it's early enough.
Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.
Sir.